Gentlemen, congratulations. It's down to the two of you to decide who's going to leave here with the title of Forge and Fire Champion and that check for $10,000. Now, in this final round, we're sending you back to your home forges for 4 days to build an iconic weapon from history. We want you to build this.
Oh.
This is the elephant tusk sword.
Dating as far back as the 6th century BC, the mighty elephant was used during warfare, often armed with the fierce elephant tusk sword. This lethal weapon featured a socket that connected directly to the elephant's tusk. The double-edged blade was designed to inflict massive destruction as an elephant charged through barricades and ranks of enemy soldiers. Throughout history, there is evidence of thousands of elephant tusk swords being used in battle. However, only 4 pairs of these intimidating weapons still exist today.
I've never seen anything like it. I'm trying to figure out how I'm even going to construct this. The terrifying feeling is starting to set in again.
Good luck. We'll see you in 4 days.
Hell yeah.
My name is Matt Schweinberg. I'm 38 years old, from Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm a senior engineer and a part-time bladesmith. I'm not normally a competitive guy, but for this I made an exception because I'm here to win. My adrenaline's already pumping through my veins, and I'm ready for that challenge. I've got my width that I'm looking for, but my workpiece might be a little too thin. I'm going to try and forge weld in a mild steel medial ridge. So I'm going to get some mild steel and try and forge weld that onto both sides. All right, now we're cooking. This sword is meant for an elephant, so the amount of force that's going to go into the blade is going to be off the charts. We want as even of a heat as we can get. Check it with a magnet, make sure that we're at critical temp, and then pull it out, drop it in my quench oil. Good so far. Don't see any cracks. All the welds held up, nothing blew apart. So far, so good. Now, just to make it look pretty, I'm gonna start off by securing the blade to the socket. I'm worried about possibly overheating the blade, so I'm gonna have to take some extra care to make sure the heat doesn't travel and ruin the temper on the blade. Let that cool off. Doing a kind of test fit of the sword. Perfect. Everything goes together as smooth as silk. This blade is crazy. I never would have imagined myself making something like this, so I'm kind of excited to see what kind of destruction it does, or maybe the sword blows apart, I don't know. Looks pretty sweet.
My name's Jaden Samiski. I'm 19 years old, and I started bladesmithing at about age 15. My entire life, I've gotten in trouble for 2 things: playing with knives and playing with fire. And so eventually it clicked in my mind that I could make knives with fire, and it really just went from there. Everything's looking good. I think that it's all welded up well. I'm going to start preparing to weld the socket cap onto the blade. If I do these welds incorrectly, I will end up with cracks. I could end up with the whole blade basically just breaking off. The welds ended up great, so I'm feeling good about where I am. And today's mostly just gonna be making this thing beautiful. So I'm gonna grind it like I would an axe. I'm gonna do big convex edges because all that extra meat in there will help support the cutting edge itself. That's exactly how I wanted it. It's way cooler than I ever thought it would have been, and I'm happy with it. At this point, I could show up and on the first hit, it could snap in half and I'd walk away happy. I hope it doesn't though. I do want to win.
Bladesmiths, welcome to the keel test. In battle, these swords were attached to elephants who just rammed across its opponents. Find out what kind of lethal damage your weapon will do. We're gonna go hog wild on this ballistics dummy. Jaden, you're up first. You ready for this?
Hell yeah.
Let's do this.
Ooh. Ah. I wasn't expecting his head to come off.
All right, Jaden, let's talk about your weapon here. Every thrust was deadly. It went all the way through. What I do like is I can see the Damascus pattern on your blade there. Jaden, your elephant tusk sword, it will kill.
That's all I wanted.
All right, Matt, your turn, sir. You ready?
Hopefully my sword's not irrelevant after this test.
We're gonna have fun. All right, Matt, it penetrates very deep, and on the way out, it cuts. It's a weighted weapon right here that when it thrusts, see the hole right in the middle of the ballistics dummy? It destroyed everything in there. Your weapon right here, it will kill.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, gentlemen, for the strength test, we've mounted your elephant tusk swords on our battering ram here, and I will be attacking that armored soldier. All right, Jaden, you ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
That's terrifying.
Jaden, I really have to commend you on the artistry of this blade. The low layer pattern really pops. The connections here are all really beautifully done. And for this test, that tip still has an edge. Everything is right and tight and true, and nothing's changed. Well done.
Thank you.
Matt, you ready to roll?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Matt, your blade held up fine. The tip, it's a little bit duller than when it started out with, but I wouldn't run my finger down this edge. So nicely done, it held up beautifully.
Thank you.
All right, bladesmiths, we know your weapons can kill, and we know they are strong. Now it's time to find out how sharp your weapons are. This is the sharpness test, the guillotine fruit slice. We're gonna take your elephant tusk sword, release it, and try to cut through the fruit. I wanna see clean cuts all the way through. Jaden, you're up first. You ready?
Hell yeah.
All right, let's do this.
Nice.
All right, Jaden, your edge here, cut all the way through cleanly. Bottom line, sir, your elephant tusk sword, you'll cut. All right, Matt, your turn, sir. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Matt, let's talk about your weapon here. The weight on this, it drives the cut all the way through. Your edge is sharp. More importantly, sir, it will cut.
Thank you, Doug.
Well, Jaden and Matt, you guys both performed exceptionally well during your tests, but as you know, only one of you guys will be leaving here with the title of Forge and Fire Champion. And today's Forge and Fire Champion is Jaden. Congratulations, you won, man. Matt, unfortunately, that means you did not come out on top today. I'm gonna have to ask you to please step out.
I'm proud of the sword that I turned in. They were virtually the same performance. Good job, man.
Yeah, you too.
And Jaden's weapon, he turned in a work of art, and I think he deserves the title. First thing I'm gonna do when I get home, kiss my wife and crack open a beer.
Well, Jaden, that means you are today's Forge and Fire Champion. You're gonna be leaving here with a check for $10,000, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm the new Forge and Fire Champion, and I'm really stoked about it.
How old are you again?
19.
19 years old. That is extremely impressive, man.
Thank you. Woo! I'm so bad at emotion.
All right, bladesmiths, congratulations. You've made it into the third round of this competition. Now we're sending you back to your home forges to recreate an iconic weapon from history. That weapon is the Boazande sword. The Boazande sword hails from Central Africa and the tribes of the Congo. The short sword was used not only to wage war, but also as a ritual object and status symbol. The more ornate the sword, the higher one's stature and authority within the tribe. Typically, African blades have wildly varying specifications and shapes, and this sword is no different. It has a thin ricasso that flares wide to a leaf shape. From there, it tapers to a devastatingly sharp point that's built to make extreme cuts and deep thrusts into the flesh, making the weapon a feared and vicious killer. Good luck, bladesmiths. We'll see you in 4 days.
Good luck. Good luck, man.
My name is Ben Jenin. I'm a project manager for exterior signs. I started watching Forged in Fire, and it lit a fire back under me. I was like, hey, you know, this is awesome. I need to get in that part of it. Steel I plan on using is 80 CRV2. I think this will be a good steel because the abuse it can take, plus it'll hold a fine edge. I want to make sure that I get all the heat straight through this blade. Now I'm ready for quench. I am happy with that. Doing pinstriping, I've done that on a million cars and motorcycles. That's second nature to me. So that's going to give my spin on this and hopefully put me up and above. Now I'm ready to fit everything up. I put the guard on the blade, make sure everything's where I like it. Son of a bitch. I'm getting ready to start doing my grinds, and I noticed something that looks like a crack. Yeah, we're gonna have to grind on that a little bit. I grind it down. Luckily, it's just on the surface. You know, the good Lord's looking out for me again. Crisis diverted. I need to go change my drawers now.
My name's Justin Chenault. I've been making blades for 14 years now. I just got my Journeyman Smith stamp. It's a rating in the American Bladesmith Society. It means you have reached a certain level of quality in your work. Given the ceremonial aesthetic aspect of the Boazande, I'm gonna lean more towards doing something flashy, so I'm gonna go with Damascus. I cut in a ladder pattern with a grinder and got it ready to start shaping the blade. After I get the tip kind of where I want it, I can start working down the blade, pulling that width out. Everything looks awesome. It's nice and straight. We're gonna let it cool off here, and I'm gonna work on my handle and fittings. I decided to go ahead and do a ladder pattern on the guard plate and pommel plate because I figure it'll be kind of complementary to the sword blade. I'm making the handle out of rosewood, which is native to Africa, so it would be relatively historically accurate. Let's go see if it'll cut anything. You know, I'm pretty confident that this thing will handle anything that they can throw at it. That'll do.
All right, bladesmiths, this is the kill test. Your Boazande short swords look deadly, but can they kill? To find that out, I will take your weapons and do some killing slashes and blows on this pig carcass. Ben, you're up first. You ready for this?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
All right, Ben, let's talk about your weapon here. First up, the design you have here with a very aggressive point lends itself to thrust all the way through the pig carcass 3 times. Now your edge. Razor sharp. But what I find interesting with your weapon here is there's a forward weight, so it lends itself to be a good chopper rather than just a thruster. Overall, sir, your weapon, it'll kill.
Thank you.
All right, Justin, your turn. Are you ready?
Let's get it done.
First up, I really appreciate the Damascus pattern that you have on here. It's very stunning to look at.
Thank you.
Now, the design you have thrusts easily through the carcass, at the same time creates a big wound channel with every thrust and extraction as I'm doing that. Now, it is a much lighter sword than your competitors. Overall, sir, it will kill.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, to test the strength and overall construction of your blade, I'll be chopping and stabbing into our shields over here. Ben, you're up first. Are you ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, Ben, it's got some weight to it. It's a bit hefty. Now, that hourglass design is a very traditional shape for this handle. But that guard with these corners, not so great for thrusting. It's kind of chewed a hole in my finger. As far as the edge of your blade goes, you don't lose any edge at all. Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Do your worst.
If I was going to do my worst, I'd just slam it on the concrete. I wouldn't do that to you. All right, Justin. Tips 100%. That's great. Handle is very comfortable. As far as the construction goes, I think it's beautiful. I think your design and shape is excellent. Good job.
Awesome.
Doug?
All right, bladesmiths, this is the sharpness test, the African tapestry slice. Now, to find out how sharp your edges are, I'm gonna take your weapon and slash across these tapestries. Now, unlike the strength test, this is all about what the edge of your blade does to these tapestries. Ben, you're up first. You ready for this?
Yes, sir.
All right, men, like hot knife through butter. On the vertical cuts, very easy. It's like cutting air with this. On the edges where it didn't meet the tapestry, it cuts through. The edge is sharp. It will cut.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Justin, it's your turn, sir. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's do this.
All right.
All right, Justin, let's talk about your blade. The fact it's a little bit lighter makes it easier to control when you're cutting. I'm not worried about the forward weight that pulls me into that. Vertical cuts, easy, all the way through. Diagonal cuts, it was easy to cut. And of course, as you can see in the horizontal cut, a nice clean line where it cuts all the way through. Your edge, sir, it will cut.
Thank you.
Ben, Justin, the judges' deliberation is complete. They've made their final decision. Both of those Boazande swords exemplify the standard by which all other Forged in Fire champions should be measured. You've both done excellent work.
Thank you.
However, there can only be one Forged in Fire champion. That champion is Justin. Congratulations, you are the Forged in Fire champion. Ben, unfortunately, your blade by the most narrow of margins did not make the cut, and Ben Abbott's gonna tell you why.
Ben, this was an extremely tight race. Both of you brought in really beautiful weapons that performed very well. But at the end of the day, your guard bit Dave's finger. And there was a difference in weight that made your sword harder to swing. And that's why we're sending you home.
Ben, please surrender your blade.
You know, getting this far in the competition, I just wanted to prove to myself and others, you know, without a doubt, I have what it takes.
That is a damn fine weapon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I came to win it. I fell a little short, but hey, I'm not going to let that stop me.
Well, Justin, looks like you brought your A++ game because you are the Forged in Fire champion, and that's a title that comes with a check for $10,000. Good job, my friend.
Thank you.
Please present your weapon to the judges.
I went into this not knowing who was gonna win, but I pulled ahead. Woo! It was hard, grueling, but it was a lot of fun at the end of the day. A little bittersweet, honestly. He's a great guy, we've become great friends, but, you know, it's a competition, man. Somebody's gotta win.
Bladesmiths, congratulations. You've made it into the third round of this competition, and now it's time to send you back to your home forges to recreate this iconic weapon from history. That weapon is Charlemagne's Joyeuse.
Today we are pre-testing Charlemagne's Joyeuse. The Joyeuse was supposed to be a sword wielded by Charlemagne. And it is your standard sword that, as you look at it, is quite decorative because it's a homage to the great Charlemagne.
Meaning joyful, the Joyeuse is considered one of the most famous swords in history and was the personal sidearm of King Charlemagne. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Charlemagne used the blade in battle to reunite Western Europe. Covered in gold, jewels, and floral patterns, this weapon was light and deadly and earned the reputation as the sword that conquered Europe. Featuring a double-edged blade with a deep central fuller, the sword was also rumored to have magical powers, like the ability to shine brighter than the sun. Today, the legendary sword can be seen on display at the Louvre.
So when we test a weapon that's tied to a historical figure, I try to embody the feeling of who that historical figure was. When did he live? How did he fight? So that way, it ties into the kind of weapon that I'm wielding. At the same time, it gets me into character, I guess. I try to embody the spirit of who they were and how they fought. So we had some weapons like Genghis Khan or the Barbarian, I'll fight you like a barbarian. Or we had General Payton's sword. And of course, now we have Charlemagne's Joyeuse sword. So with this particular weapon, we actually engage multiple targets, which they do in combat. It's not just a one and done. Now, when you create that kind of scenario, it allows me to truly test the balance of the weapon. When I say balance, it's not only just the weapon in my hand, it's how do I move with my legs with it. When I'm moving around, attacking different targets. Every time you move, it really gives you information about how the weight of that weapon will affect the way you move. This is a multi-use weapon, so I wanted to see how many different ways can I cut, can I thrust, can I chop with it. Pre-testing the Joyeuse against a boar really gives us information of that edge, how well it can cut thick hide. Sure was a lot of fun. It will kill.
Good luck. We'll see you in 4 days.
So I'm going to use a big piece of 5160 bar stock. It can take a lot of damage and flex well. I want to make sure I got the length of the blade done down to a reasonable size. So this steel is definitely the most awkward thing that I've ever worked with in the shop. It's like a big wet noodle. I'm going to weld up a 15-layer Damascus billet and make a twist pattern Damascus. I think it'll really set the sword up for a nice look. So I got the forge weld set, and I'm going to draw it out to length. Now that I have my pieces all shaped, I'm gonna start heat treating the blade. So I get my sword up to the perfect temperature and I'm ready for quench. And I pull it out and it's just beautiful. It feels amazing to have a fully quenched blade. So my biggest fear of putting in this fuller is just grinding right through my blade. I can kind of tell how close it is just by feeling it with my hand. After about an hour, the fuller's done and everything is looking good.
It's coming out pretty well.
Now I can work on profiling the pommel and guard and getting them exactly to where I want it. For my handle, I choose diamond wood because it can take a lot of abuse and it's not gonna break. I'm in the home stretch now. It's a good looking piece.
We're gonna start out with a bar of 1075 high carbon steel. We're going to do a lot of the quick forging to shape with a power hammer. Whenever you try to move a big piece of metal like this, it's quite a challenge to keep it straight.
Whoa. It's getting long and heavy and hard to hold.
It's cooling down between a couple of 2x6s, so that way it doesn't warp as it cools down.
Now we're going to get ready for heat treat. Getting pretty close to coming up to temperature, so we're about 5 minutes away and we'll be quenching her. This is it. And then my hand cramps and I drop the blade into the quench tank. Well, I'm worried that hitting the bottom of the quench tank did some damage. Come on, man. I tried to fish it out, but unfortunately, I didn't catch anything. Ended up pouring it out in a 5-gallon bucket in my yard. I got the blade out, so it's all good now. I did pick up a slight warp close to the tip.
I should be able to straighten that out during the temper cycle. So time will tell. My biggest focus is going to be getting the blade straight, and so I want to get that out of the way and then go from there. My solution is to extend the width of the jaws with some angle iron, heat it up, and use some wooden dowels to put the proper pressure where it needs to be. She's straight. Oh, that's so freaking awesome. Now I need to make the handle. Time's running out, so it's a race to the finish. All right, she's getting there. End of day 4. Man, it's been quite a trip. Everything turned out great. A lot of hard work, but I believe it really paid off in the end. That's a sword in 4 days.
All right, bladesmiths, welcome to the kill test. To find out how lethal your weapons are according to its historic design, I will take your weapon, deliver some killing slashes, and thrust on this poor carcass. Mitch, you're up first. You ready for this?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mitch, let's talk about your sword here. Your edge, coupled with the weight that you have here, allows for very deep cuts with every strike. Overall, sir, it will kill.
Thank you.
All right, Payton, it's your turn. You ready?
Oh yeah. For this test, I'm not too nervous. I'm just excited to see it happen, honestly. I get to see this board get cut in half, hopefully.
All right, Payton, that was Joyeuse. What I like about this sword is not just about the edge or the point, it's the balance in this. I can actually use some velocity and it cuts deep. Overall, sir, it will kill.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, it's time for the strength test. Now, to test the strength and overall construction of your blades, I will be attacking our armored knights here. Now, this is not about what your blades are going to do to that target, about what that target's going to do to your blades. Mitch, you're up first. You ready for this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please don't break. Please don't break. I think I just peed a little.
All right, Mitch, your edge did take some damage here. You can see the chip right there and some rolls. And your sword is heavy. You know, this is a lot of weight for a single-handed sword, more in the range of a two-handed sword as far as the weight goes. But she held up. She's in one piece. Good job, Mitch.
Thank you.
All right, Payton, you're up. You ready?
Yeah.
One of those, I don't know which way my head's gonna go. Yeah. All right, Payton, it's weighty, but the weight is all back in my hand, so it doesn't feel as heavy in the blade. This sword has a much better point of balance than the other sword. Your blade did take some chips and some edge rolling, but I think your grinds are beautiful. The sword is all solid. You did a good job.
Thank you.
All right, bladesmiths, welcome to the sharpness test, the sandbag gauntlet. Now, to test the sharpness of your weapon, I will slash across these bags. Now, unlike the strength, this is all about how sharp your blades are and how well they cut these bags. Mitch, you're up first. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All
right, Mitch. So despite some of the damage of rolls and chips, it wasn't an issue at all in cutting these bags. It will cut.
Thank you.
All right, Payton, your turn, sir. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, Payton. The handle construction is smooth, but ovoid enough to where I wrap my hand around it and I get a very good grip. You will cut.
Thank you.
Mitch, Payton, the judge's deliberation is complete. You guys have done fantastic work on these finale weapons, but there can only be one Forged in Fire champion. Our new Forged in Fire champion is Payton. Congratulations, you're the Forged in Fire champion. Mitch, unfortunately, your blade didn't make the cut.
Mitch, you brought us a sword that performed well in all 3 of our tests. So this came down to the finer points of craftsmanship, as in where to place the balance point on that blade and the general weight. That balance point being so far forward made it harder to wield and harder to control, and that's why we're letting you go.
I understand.
Mitch, you've been a great competitor this entire competition, but at this time I have to ask you to please surrender your blade.
Obviously a little disappointed. Overall, happy with what I turned in, and I'm happy for Payton. If I had to lose to anyone, I'd just soon lose to him.
Payton, congratulations. You are the new Forged in Fire champion, and that is a title that comes with a check for $10,000. Congratulations. Please present your sword to the judges.
I'm the next Forged in Fire champion. It's just crazy. As soon as I heard my name, it was just like a weight just got pulled off my chest. Just like, it's over. Finally can breathe.